Okay, I think we're recording. We are back. It is episode 19 of the Hockey Cards Gongshow podcast. My name is Josh. Welcome. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome back, I guess. If you're a repeat listener, hey, Troy, what's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. Just got home, dropped off the kid at football, and I am ready to go.
Sweet. So we have a big show today. I feel funny saying that. I don't know if you'll remember this or anyone else listening does, but if anyone watched Conan O'Brien when he had his late night show, particularly on NBC back in the day, he would always start the show talking about Big Show. And I always thought that was kind of funny because, of course, every show can't be a big one. But I do think, though, Troy, that this one is actually a big one for us.
Yeah, we keep saying, I think we're falling into that rut, though. We keep saying every show is a big show. It's just from a time frame, it's a long show. I don't know how long this one will be, but yeah, we've had some doozies.
So yesterday we recorded a interview with Tony Sirianni at Upper Deck that we'll play for you guys in a little bit. A lot of great information, and hopefully you enjoy that. Before we get started today, though, there are two things that I wanted to bring up, Troy. The first is we launched a few days ago now, I think on Sunday, or uploaded, I guess, I don't know what the term is, the first part of a special series that we're calling Hockey Cards 101. We've been asked to do this. Troy and I have thought it was a good idea, but basically it's a series that we're going to do that's really geared towards new hockey card collectors and helping them to get up to speed in the hobby quicker. I know, Troy, one of the points you made in the intro of part one of that show is that you had wished that there was something like this for you when you had started collecting too.
For sure.
So I guess if you're a grizzled vet of hockey cards and you have years and years and years worth of knowledge, it may not be the show for you, but we wanted to just mention it here in case you have friends or family that are interested in the hobby and want to learn a little bit more about what hockey card collecting is all about. You might want to mention it to them, or you can listen and let us know of things that you think we're incorrect about, or maybe stuff that we've left out that's important for collectors to know, because one of the things we're going to do in subsequent parts is start each show by kind of going over what we missed in the previous part or things that we should have added. There's no set schedule for this series. We're hoping to do maybe 1 or 2 episodes a month. So if you're interested in it, the best place to, I guess, get notified would either be to follow our show on whatever podcast app you listen to us on, or to make sure that you follow on our social channels, so Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, because we'll definitely make announcements when new episodes of the series are live. But yeah, Hockey Cards 101, Troy.
I like it. It was fun. It was the first episode, went over really well. We got a lot of really positive feedback.
Yeah, and I'm excited too, and I know you and I talked a bunch about this, that anytime you do like a first episode, there's a whole bunch of just groundwork that you naturally need to get through. And in the next part, I think we're pretty much decided we're going to focus really specifically on hockey like cards and what types of cards, and just all about condition and storing and all that stuff. So I'm excited to get more into the meat and potatoes of the hobby, and should be fun. Okay, so the second thing is a little bit of an announcement. We have formally, I guess, started a partnership with Card Ladder. Troy and I are really big fans of Card Ladder. We both personally subscribed to it before we had a podcast. And so we're really excited about the opportunity to work with them. Basically, what we're doing is helping to promote their service. If you're interested in signing up for Card Ladder, and I'll maybe go over why you might want to do that in a second, but there's a link in our show description. If you there's a link on our bio for Instagram, but basically if you go and sign up for their free version, and then maybe ultimately you choose to sign up for their paid version, that would support us. And in turn, we're going to help promote Card Ladder a little bit. Just really quickly on Card Ladder, why we like it so much is it's a great way to look up sales history. You can go back over 10 years and you can't do that on eBay or 130 point. So if you're looking at 101 cards or vintage, it's great to get that perspective. They have the indexes that we reference a lot where you can track and see really any of the sports cards or entertainment cards or trading card games, markets, how those are doing. And then you can also upload your collection and it tracks the value of your collection basically every day. I personally have a love-hate relationship, Troy, with the daily email I get from Card Ladder.
Yeah,
depending on the value of my collection, whether it's gone up or down that day. But it is a great tool to use for that. And so we really believe in it and wanted to make that announcement. I guess the last thing I'll say before I get any comments from you, Troy, is we really take the idea of partnering with companies or services or sponsorship very seriously. We're committed to being really transparent in any case in which we do that, which is part of why we're talking about it right now. And Troy and I have some criteria for how we're going to choose people to partner with. It's companies we believe in, companies we feel that are ethical, of course, and offer value. And so I'll just kind of leave, I know a lot of maybe shows or people don't talk about this sort of stuff, but we do really want to be very transparent in anyone that we choose to work with. Anything to add to that?
Nope, that's exactly it. And if you've listened to our show or read our Instagram post, I think it's pretty obvious that we are big fans of Card Ladder. I'm going to guess from the first episode and the first Instagram post, we were already referencing them. We've both used it. We love it. So I think it made perfect sense. And if it's something you want to do, you want to sign up and try it out, give it a shot. We'd love it. And if you decide to do the paid version, that's even a bonus. But just it's up to you and what you want to do. But hope you give it a shot and see how it works out.
If you have a hard time finding our link that helps support us, you can just message us too and we'll send it to you. Okay, Troy, we have a big show today.
Big show.
So why don't we start off with a game plan and let's get rolling.
All right. On the show today, we are going to start with a rookie deep dive on Matt Boldy. Next, we continue our upcoming season previews, and this week we will be looking at some of the big-name blue-chip players. These are the top dogs, and we take a quick look at some performance, some thoughts about their upcoming season, and current values. Then it's off to hobby news, followed by our interview with Tony Sirianni from Upper Deck, where we discuss some new product releases, along with Tony answering some of our listener questions that were submitted. Really good interview. Hope you stick around and listen. A lot of good stuff in it. Finally, we end the show with new product releases and personal pickups and or sales.
All right, let's get into our rookie deep dive and talk about Matt Boldy. I want to give a tiny bit of backstory on this, though, and sort of how we came up with this idea. And really, it was my idea, and it came from something I'm totally guilty of. And Troy, I'm curious if you've been guilty of this too. It's a set comes out, especially the flagships where there's the Young Guns or the Future Watches. And I tended to get swept up in the value in the secondary market of driving kind of interest in players. So Series 2 comes out and you have Quentin Byfield or Raymond or Sider or Anton Lundell and then extended, you have a whole batch of guys and you know that, oh man, I opened up a Lundell and it's worth $15. And so now you have this bias towards a player like Lundell thinking this is a great player. And in the reality, I have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea if he shoots right-handed or left-handed, what country he was born in, what college he went to, if he went to the juniors, or really what type of prospect that player is. And as part of our goal to help everyone be a smarter, better, whether it be collector or investor, I thought it might be a good idea to, I don't know if it'll be every episode, it will be at least once a week, we'll go through and pick one of these guys and spend maybe 2-3 minutes just going through a little bit of the profile of the player. So that especially as Series 1 comes out in likely mid-November, and we have a whole new batch of rookies that we've seen a little bit in MVP, that we have a better frame of reference for who these people are and what their real opportunity is this season in particular to produce and play well in the NHL. So I guess that's a little background as to how we came about doing this. And so the first guy that we thought to look into, because we're total Minnesota homers, is Matt Boldy. Do you know a lot about Boldy, Troy?
I don't. I knew he played at Boston College. That was about it. And I know that he seems like he's being featured on the Series 1 information that we've seen come out.
Yeah, and he was kind of the head dog for MVP, the rookie short prints too. So looks like Upper Deck is thinking that, and I guess probably hoping that he continues to play pretty good. So he's 21-year-old forward for the Wild, of course. It seems like he has good size. He's 6'2", 194. Is that sort of, Troy, you consider the profile of the NHL player these days?
I don't know. Every time I look at, they seem to get bigger. But yeah, I mean, it's any over 6 feet is what you kind of want, but you don't have to be over 6 feet unless you're a goalie. You can have 5'8" guys or 5'9" guys, and they can be successful. Sure. But goalies, it's a whole nother story because a lot of teams won't even look at you, and that size is creeping up. Now goalies, it's like you got to be 6'1", 6'2" to get looked at.
Oh, geez. Okay, so you're correct. He played collegiately at Boston College. He was the 12th overall pick in 2019. He did make the top 10 for the Hobey Baker Award, but he left early to come to the Wild last season. So I assume, I didn't look into it further, but that eliminates you from contention if you...
I assume so.
So we'll make that assumption. He ended up playing 47 games with the Wild last year, made his debut on January 6th, scored actually the game-winning goal in the game, a 3-2 win over the Boston Bruins. So that's kind of a crazy story, right? You come from Boston College right to the Wild, first game, you score the game-winning goal to beat the Bruins.
Yeah, and then, of course, every Minnesota fan's like, oh, my God, here we go. Now we got Kaprizov and this guy. It's over. Yeah. We're just gonna roll, and then reality sets in. Well, I mean, actually, I should take that back because you're going to talk about his season. He actually had a really good season.
Yeah, he ended up with 39 points, scored 15 goals, had 24 assists, finished 6th in rookie scoring for 2021-22. He, I think, tailed off a little bit towards the end of the season. So maybe if you had any concerns, you could put, that would be one to put in that category. Didn't have a stellar playoffs, had 1 goal in 6 games. Nobody for the Wild, though, aside from Kaprizov, played well in the playoffs. So I'm inclined, at least from a Wild fan's perspective, to give him a little bit of pass in that regard. He should, though, Troy, have a pretty big role this year with the Wild. There's a big hole with Kevin Fiala now in LA. Fiala had 85 points for the Wild last year, including 33 or 34 goals, I think. And so the Wild are in salary cap purgatory with the Parise and Suter buyout. So they had no money to go and sign a blue chip free agent player to replace that production. So they're going to be counting on players like Boldy or Marco Rossi to help fill the void in scoring that we have with Fiala leaving. So anywhere from the second to third line, he's a left wing. Most likely will play with Freddie Gaudreau and Tyson Jost on probably line 3. He should also, though, expect to see some time in the power play. I think depending on how he's playing, they'll use him either on the first power play unit or the second. He had some time on power play unit 1 last year, I know. So given that he's at or around, and as we know in following the Wild, that they play their third line a lot. So I'm not too worried if he doesn't make a top 6 forward. I don't know about you, Troy, but...
I am not a big Tyson Jost and even Freddie Gaudreau fan, so that worries me a little bit, but it's good to know. Or if you listen to Dean Evanson and Bill Guerin, there's a plan for this guy or for this kid, and they want him to get a lot of playing time. So I'm assuming like you said, he should be on the power play. We'll see where he ends up, but I think they have a plan for him. That line he's on right now doesn't excite me too much.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. What I would say, though, is he's probably candidate 1 if there's a injury to any of the top 6 forwards for him to move up. Wouldn't you assume that?
Oh, definitely. Yes, for sure.
So not that we're rooting, of course, for anyone to get injured on our team here, but he could see some additional opportunity because of that. We already mentioned a little bit that he seems to be at least the guy for Series 1. So we'll talk about the checklist in a little bit that was released a couple of days ago, but he's card 201. So he's the first young gun, which Upper Deck sort of designates for the headliner. He's also on the checklist with teammate Marco Rossi. So it'll be interesting to follow the initial hype. And I think that it'll be really important for him in a card value perspective to have a hot start. He should have about a month of playing time before Series 1 is released. But that's sort of my overview on Boldy. Any other comments or that you would have, Troy?
No, I'm just glad that the Wild have the checklist, the young gun checklist. Aren't they both on there? Is that what you just said?
Yeah, him and Rossi are the two checklist players.
I mean, I'm excited for him. He had showed a lot of promise last year before trailing off at the end and during the playoffs. So it should be exciting to see him play.
So next week for sure, we'll do another deep dive. Feel free to message us on any of our social channels for who you think we should look into next, whether it's Owen Power or Jack Quinn, Matty Beniers, Lucas Reichel, any of the guys that look to or have a chance to play pretty well and create some hype in the beginning of the year. We definitely open to suggestions because there's no definitive plan as of right now to who we do next.
Yeah, and there's so many players. I mean, if a lot of people message about one certain player, we can definitely take a look.
Okay, so let's move on. Troy, you've done a bunch of research and into, or continuing our preview of the 2022-23 season. And this week we wanted to look into, what we're calling the blue chip guys. So these are the stars of the game and what we think might happen from a production to storyline standpoint this year. So I'll turn it over to you, Troy.
Yeah, like Josh said, these are the blue chips or the top dogs, the tier one players. You'll hear all different terms. A lot of these names will be kind of the Captain Obvious stuff, but we're going to kind of go through them. So last week we looked at players that have potential to have breakout seasons this year. And we looked at the Calder group of candidates, and then we looked at a second group who were players like veterans that could make big impacts and step up their game that weren't the obvious names. But this week it's a little different. It's the blue chips. These are the top tier players. These are the big names you've heard about. I limited my list to 5 for now, because if we went and did 10, 15, 20, we'd probably lose some people. That'd be a long segment. So we're looking at the top 5 for the upcoming season. Every one of these guys is a top tier player. Arguably is one of the top 5 players in the league. And while I'm looking at the player information, I also try to get a little bit of a team outlook to kind of help think about how this player might perform with the team and what they're looking at this year. And then also a little bit looked at card values. And a lot of these players we've talked about previously. You've heard our talks on their prices, but just to give that stuff again. So Josh, and again, this list is not in any particular order, but it kind of, once I hear the names, you'll think it kind of does fall into a natural order. Josh, if you listed the first person, who do you think is number 1?
Kirby Dach.
No, not Kirby Dach.
It's got to be McDavid.
No, yeah, McDavid. Best player in the NHL. Terrific regular season last year, leading the NHL in points with 123. 44 goals, 79 assists, Art Ross Trophy for the second straight year and the 4th time in the past six years. And even though he had a great regular season, then he came out and just went bonkers in the playoffs and had a better playoff season where he had 33 points, 10 goals, 23 assists, led all scorers in playoff points. We can talk all we want about him. He's got a ton of awesome stats, but he leads all active players with 1.43 points per game. The next second place is Sidney Crosby, who's 1.27. So McDavid has actually a pretty good lead over him. And this is the thing with McDavid. I feel he's been in the league so long, 25 years old. That just, he'll turn 26, I think, during the year. But just another thing to think about him, he's still young.
That's crazy.
He's still young. And with that, what I wrote down in my notes is he's 25, so that means there's technically another level he might get to as he keeps entering those. He's on the left side of the age curve, right? So he should still be improving. Really don't see anything to kind of slow him down, bar something, like an injury or something that could happen, especially this year, because the Oilers have a really strong team returning. They upgraded their goalie situation. I've talked about Mike Smith and how I didn't think he wasn't their answer. We saw it. He struggled. He was an older goalie, but they signed Jack Campbell.
Is that a big upgrade? Well,
yeah. Anything
over Smith seems like an upgrade. I just checked though. Do you know Smith is still on the roster?
Is he really? I didn't know that, but he's Jack Campbell's his pendant is the starter right now, I would believe. I think Smith's got to be 41, 42. He's got to be up there.
Yeah, 40.
To me, it's a big upgrade having Jack Campbell. They could also realistically, the Oilers with McDavid, Draisaitl, and Kane, you might have 3 40-plus goal scorers in that team, which would be huge. And they still have a good core there. They should almost repeat the same season and maybe possibly make the Stanley Cup Finals this year. So they have a lot of room or a lot of interest to make a really good season this year.
Yeah, I remember hearing once on the radio, Lou Nanne, who's a Minnesota hockey legend, was the general manager of the North Stars. And he was saying when he was a GM, how his approach to building a team was looking at, well, how many goals does this team need to score, or a team need to score to typically get in the playoffs? So he would go down his roster and say, okay, I need 250 goals or whatever the number was. Where am I going to get these goals from? So I think your point is really astute when you think by re-signing Evander Kane and assuming that both McDavid and Draisaitl have similar production or maybe even better from last year, that this team could end up scoring a lot of goals. And I think my opinion on McDavid is, and I think this is where the interesting part of the discussion really is, because like you said, it's kind of the meat and potatoes stuff that everyone kind of thinks about McDavid is it's really about the team that they put around him. And especially from a hockey card perspective, right? When you think about, okay, what does this guy need to do to gain another 20, 30% in value, maybe? And for me, it seems like the point production is probably a given. They need to win in the playoffs.
That's his catalyst, right? I mean, I put after the card value talk, I just put a point that I'll bring up now. It's like what drives him higher. It's if this team has so much upside, if they live up. I mean, I think last year you could say it was disappointing because they got knocked out in the conference finals. But if they can make the Stanley Cup and win a cup, then I think you see a big boost for McDavid. Currently and I'll just read off real quick, his Young Guns to 2015-16, PSA 10, pop is 2,374. When I looked at Card Ladder and recent sales, it hovers around 3,000 here and there. I've seen like that 3,000 number has been pretty well documented.
Or him and Matthews, I should say.
Yeah.
As I guess following their cards for pretty closely for a few months now, they tend to have pretty big swings in value.
Yeah, so he did get up to 4,000 at one point. I, of course, forgot to write the date, but it was within, I think, the last season. It was up there pretty high.
Yeah, it's definitely one you want to research before you buy and hit a target price, maybe is the best way to put it.
For sure. And then if you wanted to go for a cheaper option, I mean, if you wanted to look at just its raw Young Guns, which I laugh when I said cheap because it's around $1,000 with sales fluctuating plus or minus, $150, $200, I guess, depending on what day it is and how people are feeling. So that's McDavid. Obviously, number two, I think most people will figure it out. It would be Auston Matthews from Toronto. 60-goal scorer last year, 46 assists for 106 points. I love researching these guys because you can find some of these just obscure stats that I didn't know about. Had the highest goals per game since Mario Lemieux in 1995 and 96. I would have never guessed that. So that was a good tell of how good his goal scoring was last year. He's also the first NHL player with 60 goals in a season since Stamkos in 2011-12 season. And he scored at least 40 goals in 3 straight seasons. Hart winner last year. Of course, get any Toronto fan on the horn and they're going to tell you what a disappointing year it was because they made the first round exit, which I know was very disappointing. I remember when they got bounced, all the Toronto fans were just irate. It's like, here we go again. And then,
you know what I saw that was funny today, Troy? So I'm kind of borrowing from our hobby news section a little bit.
Okay.
But with the announcement of Zdeno Chara retiring,
mm-hmm.
I saw a tweet. I wish I could give this person credit, but I can't remember who it's from. It said something to the effect of Chara was the last active player to lose to the Maple Leafs in the playoffs.
Wow, that's kind of cold, but it is funny. Yeah, so Toronto definitely has some disappointing exits from the playoffs. Matthews is 24 years old, so I get baffled that Connor McDavid is 25. Matthews is 24, and he's got the mustache. He looks a lot older when you see him, but 24 years old, continuing to grow. And realistically, if you look at his growth and how he's been playing, he could have 70 goals this year. It is not out of the realm. It is not out of the realm of possibility for him to have 70. Will it happen? I don't know. I'd give it a 10 to 20% chance. But if that happens, that would be a huge thing because I don't even know when the last time we had a 70-goal scorer.
Where do you think he would be in the running for Mount Rushmore of mustaches?
Oh, he's on it. Overall, he's on the Mount Rushmore of just, I don't know what you want to call it. Hockey look, just the hair, the mustache. I always chuckle when I think about our Mr. Mustache Instagram post with him. Okay, back to the good stuff. So looking at Toronto themselves, big question mark with their performance this year is probably going to be in goal, right? They lost Jack Campbell. So they now have Matt Murray, who has won a cup, and they have Ilya Samsonov. So they have two actually goalies that have started in the NHL. When I was doing a lot of trying to dig into what the GM and what the coaching staff is saying, it sounds like Murray is coming into camp as a starter.
Sure.
But either of them are good enough to start. I mean, they're not going to. I don't think either of them are going to blow away the league. But having two viable options is a huge thing.
One thing we haven't talked about yet is there's been kind of a big game of musical chairs goalie-wise this offseason.
It's almost like, would you equate it to quarterbacks? It seems like quarterbacks in the NFL just move around to all the different teams. Then you become a backup. Then you might start for a year, and then you go back to your backup role. The Tom Brady actually, he's moved on, but having a quarterback, or Aaron Rodgers, having a quarterback on the same team, it's like goalies. It's getting far and few between where you have a guy that's a goalie that's played 15 years with one team.
That is true.
Yeah, so they got the goalie question. Obviously, they still have offensive power. They got Matthews, Marner, Bunting now, Nylander, Tavares, if he's healthy. I put that note in there. I know he had some injuries last year. So they still have an offensive core that can score. If they can get the goalie question answered, they're poised to have another great run and make the playoffs. Now, can they get
funny, right? I was going to say, Bunting was the rookie last year, but he's old enough to be Matthews' dad almost, right?
I know. When you said that comment, I was like, what? I didn't even realize that. So I looked up his age. I was like, oh, this guy is a little late to the game. But hey, it shows you stick to it and you can make it. So with Matthews, I'm going to jump the gun a little bit, but how do you see his values climbing? I guess obviously another big season, but would a playoff round win or does he have to get farther, maybe into the cup?
I don't even think so. I think if he can repeat or build off of he's kind of the premier goal scorer.
Yeah.
I think one more season, if he got to 70 goals, that you'll see regardless of how they play. I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's what I would bank on. Question for you that I have, I don't know how much you've watched him play, but you're much more at the technical aspect of the game. Why is he such a good goal scorer?
I haven't watched him enough to. I've seen how he's used. He's really good. I've seen him at using time and space in his body to create separation. And you can say that for almost any goal scorer. Watch McDavid. If you watch McDavid and you see how he shields and moves his body to create time and space, Matthews does that too. And Matthews' time is really, really sneaky on what he's going to do. And he's also one of those guys that I've noticed when he shoots. I'm going to tell you, if you got a young kid in hockey, if you can teach your kid to shoot with their feet moving, it's a game changer because goalies key off of people setting their feet or kind of gliding before they shoot.
Oh.
And that's one of the tells you can kind of have. Brett Hull was the best I've ever seen at. Brett Hull, you wouldn't even know he was going to shoot, and all of a sudden the puck's behind you. So I've seen Matthews do that. I think Patrick Kane's pretty good at it too, but from not watching him a whole lot, just watching highlights every now and then. And then to look at his card values, right now his 2016-17 Young Guns PSA 10, which has a high-ish pop for hockey, I guess, 2,583, currently around 1,500. And in April, May of this year, it was around 2,000 to 2,500, give or take. So a little bit of a decrease there. And I think we've probably touched on that in previous episodes. And his raw Young Guns right now is around anywhere from $400 to $700. So
one thing I've noticed on the raw Young Guns, I guess, sales for any of these real big guys, whether it be McDavid or Matthews or Makar or any other ones that you could think of, is when you see the sales that are really low. So if Matthews typically sells maybe in the $600-$700 range, and there's one for $395, you almost have to go in and look at the photo of that card.
Is it like on a crease or something?
Yeah, like a dog ate half the card or something like that. It's pretty obvious as to why this sale was $300 less. And so that makes it, and as I found trying to, whether it be through social media or doing show research or prep, it makes it a little bit of a slippery slope tracking the raw cards of these big guys, because you really have to take that extra step and dig in. So if you see an auction that's ending in 3 minutes and the card's at $275, don't just impulse bid.
Go look at the pictures or read the description.
Look at the pictures, and maybe 2 minutes isn't enough time to make a decision, but that's just a little bit of information that I've picked up along the way.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of when people put like crease in their descriptions. They list out what's wrong with it right away, so I have to dig into it. Anyways, okay, so that was Matthews. Obviously, another big player. Poised, should have another great year. I want to see him get. I want to see him get 70 goals. I think that'd be awesome. All right, number 3, Cale Makar. Everyone, the poster boy for the offensive defense prototype and how good a player can be at so young. And when I was writing this, like, what else can you say about Makar that people haven't just spewed out recently? He had just one of the absolute best seasons for a defenseman at his age. Everyone in the league is high on him. I don't think anyone thinks he's going to like fall off anything. He's a world beater as a defenseman. Last year, 77 points, 28 goals, 58 assists. And I kind of forgot about this. He had 29. Obviously, I shouldn't have forgot about it since he won the Conn Smythe, but 29 points in the playoffs with the highest points per game for a defenseman in the playoffs since Brian Leach in 1994. So that was a pretty cool stat that I did some digging and found. He won the Norris Trophy and the Conn Smythe Trophy last year. 23 years old. It's just mind-boggling how young he is. And when you look at Makar, I mean, you can expect him to continue his play and only improve. He's got 1.01 points per game for his career, and that's third all-time for defensemen behind Orr and Coffey. And if he can keep that up or just expand on that, that's huge. He should be in the running again to win the Norris Trophy, so that could be back-to-back Norris Trophies for him. And he's had one of the best 3-year starts to a career for any player ever in the NHL. And I'm going to read a little thing I stole from Adrian Hernandez of Mile High Hockey. And when I was doing some research, this paragraph kind of just summed up Cale Makar. Just to read from, he said, Makar went from winning the Hobey Baker Award at UMass to scoring the game winner in his debut NHL game in the playoffs against his hometown heroes, the Calgary Flames. Turned that success into a rookie campaign that won him the Calder Trophy. In his second full season as a pro, he would win the Norris Trophy, the Stanley Cup, and the Conn Smythe Award for the most valuable player in the playoffs. That just sums it up. Now, he's saying second full season. He's not counting that kind of gap pandemic year. But that just, to me, that paragraph really summed up Cale Makar. So looking at Colorado, basically the big question is, can they repeat? Kemper's out. Felt they could move on without him. They got Alexander, I can never say his last name, Georgiev, who... If you've heard the name, he was a backup for the Rangers. He backed up Shesterkin, and he also backed up, I think, Lundqvist. So they've put kind of their faith in him. They lost a big key piece with Nazem Kadri going to Calgary. Kadri had 87 points last year, was the second-line center. So he's the big loss, but that still means you still have a really good core coming back. You got MacKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, the rest of them. I mean, They are the odds-on favorites to repeat easily. If you look at the odds makers, I mean, there's no reason to think they won't. Maybe the goalie situation, but no one was really high on Darcy Kemper either, and they've managed to win a cup with him. Looking at Makar, just his values right now, his PSA 10 is the 2019-20 Young Guns. It's around 1,000, 1,050, somewhere in there.
Sure.
Which is his all-time high that I found, and Josh, you might know, it was around 1,200. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it would have been right after the cup.
Yeah, okay. So, again, he's still trending around that all-time, but for how young he is, to me, it seems cheap. I don't know if it seems cheap to you, but to me, I think there's a lot of room to grow if he can continue the pace, the trajectory he's at.
Well, I think if you assume he'll continue to play at this level or better, it is cheap, but it's also a guy who's played, 2 full years?
Yeah, and
we're talking $1,000 for his Young Guns rookie card, which isn't super rare. Is
true.
You might be able to make the argument that it's not cheap either. And I think what we've seen with Makar is he's proven he can be great, but a key part of greatness is consistency.
Yeah.
Right. So he's so young that I don't think winning another cup this year is as important as can he play at or better level of production that he had last year. And I think that if that's the case, I wouldn't see why his values wouldn't continue to rise. If he takes a step back, then the questions will come. And I think Makar is a tricky case from an investment perspective because he's what I would call like a market setter, right? You don't know. So he has to continue to break records for a player at his age and his position to continue to go up. So you're really banking on that happening if you decide to get in on Makar at this point. Where I think he's almost more interesting is he's helped open up opportunity from a value perspective for other defensemen. Mm-hmm. So if his Young Guns is $1,000 and Adam Fox is at $250, I don't know the price, I'm just making it up, then what's more likely, that Makar playing well and going to $2,000, or Fox playing well and now that Makar has set the ceiling of him gaining 40% value, because you're like, well, geez, if Makar is worth this much and Fox is playing super well, then he should start to close that gap a little bit.
Good point.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
it does. For sure.
That's the way that I've been kind of thinking about Makar. And, you're really banking on if you like the player and you just want to collect it and you want a card, it's probably the safer bet is to buy it now. But if you're coming at it more from because it could be 4 times as much 3 years from now. But if you're looking at it from an investment perspective, you really have to bank on, okay, he's going to consistently be this good or better over the next 3-4 years.
Definitely. All great points. And I forgot to mention it, but Josh, you kind of alluded to it. His pop on that PSA 10 Young Guns is 1,433. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Not horrible.
No, not horrible.
But I would expect that could be in the 1,750 range to 2,000 range this time next year.
Yep, definitely. All right, next player we're going to stick with the same team, Colorado. So Nathan MacKinnon. Kind of know the story with MacKinnon. Great player, couldn't win a cup. Can't use that anymore because he won the cup last year. He had 88 points, 32 goals, 56 assists. I thought that goal number seemed low, but that's right. I double checked, but I thought he had more.
Wow.
Yeah, he was 18th overall for regular season points. Playoffs was another story. He had 24 points with 13 goals, 11 assists, which put him at 6th. He's, you look at the forwards, I still consider him a top 5 forward in the league. But I put this little note. I have to remember now he's becoming an old man at 27. So he's approaching the top of the age curve. I know I talk about age curve. I need to do like an episode on it. But usually they say 27, 28 is when you hit your prime, and then you start tailing off on the back end. But he is still on the good side of it for now. He ranks 3rd over the last 5 seasons. He ranks 3rd in points behind McDavid and Draisaitl, which I thought was kind of interesting. So he's definitely keeps improving, keeps scoring, putting out high numbers. And I'm not going to go over Colorado again because I just did it with Makar. The kind of the same stuff applies. But with how potent and high scoring their offense is, it's really not out of the realm for MacKinnon to get to 100 points this season, which I think he was flirted with it a little bit, having 88. But I think there's a real chance he could get to 100 this year. And then I'm going to laugh when I put in the notes, he'll be an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year. So he's going to have something to play for. And about, 2 to 3 hours before we started recording, got the tweet. He just signed an 8-year contract to stay in Colorado. So he is locked up for the next 8 years until he's 35. So I can't.
Yeah. So going back to your age curve, for half that contract, he'll be on the. Well, you have Ovechkin at 36, scoring 50 goals.
Yeah, Ovechkin's the freak. But look what happened when the Wild did the same thing. Signed 2 guys, Parise and Suter. And we knew at the end of that contract they're going to be old. And man, it fell hard. Like they drastically went down. So now he's going to play. Now he has to play up to the lofty contract instead of playing for the new contract. Now he's got to live up to it. I don't know. Trying to justify the new contract talk. Do you have any other thoughts on? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, for me on MacKinnon, this is where it's a very nuanced conversation, but it all comes down to the hype factor.
Yeah.
And whether or not he has the level that maybe he once had of hobby hype, because it just doesn't feel like to me, and maybe I'm wrong, so let me know if you think so, that the winning the cup was like the magic pill that brought the hype train back for him in full steam. I mean, obviously he's a great player.
Yep.
but I just don't feel like that there's the same amount of hobby love or hype that you get for when somebody hits a Matthews or a Makar or a McDavid. The guys that you previously just talked about. And so like we've said, right, the rub was always like, well, he hasn't won the big one. Well, he did. So where's the hype at this point? I just don't know if it's his style of play or his age at this point, or if people are just more, by the shiny new toys that have younger players that have come in, or what the issue is from a value perspective. But I'm not sure, unless he totally, like you said, goes from 30 goals to 70.
Yeah.
Then that would, I think, bring the hype back. But I don't know. Do you think I'm onto something here?
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. I think one thing this is one guy that needs help from, like, if he had a personality. I know a lot of hockey players are more reserved, but this is one guy. If he had, like, just a personality, it was out there, boisterous, I think it would really help him. I have
seen some things though, Troy, that like recently, I think it was yesterday, a reporter, I don't know if this happened yesterday, but I saw it yesterday, where a reporter had mentioned, well, him and Crosby are tight, right? They're buddies.
Yeah.
And I think they were both at Shattuck St. Mary here in Faribault, Minnesota. Yeah. They played there together. And somebody had mentioned to him asked him, he trained with Crosby. So I'm sure the question was something to the effect of, so you did spend some time training with Crosby this summer. How was it? And he kind of jumped in and said, what do you mean? Crosby trained with me. In a very joking, kind of friendly, sort of one-upsman manner that you would do with any good buddy. So I don't know. There might be a little bit of personality there. But I don't know enough
about him. If there is, they definitely don't market it then.
Yeah, good point.
But I think that would help him. But yeah, no, it's just, he's a great player. He's like one of the fastest players I've ever seen in a game. If you watch him take off, he's a rocket ship when he gets going.
Or I guess the last thing I would mention about it is maybe it's just there's not enough shine for him and Makar, right? Where you have this looks like generational type talent come in, where MacKinnon is really, really, really good, but I don't think anyone's going to put him on the Mount Rushmore. We haven't had that meeting yet, but and you have Makar who's come in, who's like Mr. Hyperbole, right? People can't. Every time he's on TV, it's Bobby Orr this and all-time great that, and maybe there's just not enough shine for the both of them, and that's kind of hurt McKinnon's hype a little bit too.
Yeah, before the next player will have that same probably shine conversation, but before we get to the fifth guy, MacKinnon 2013-14 Young Guns PSA 10 pop is 1,006. It is currently around $850, and it has went on a general downward trend from its June highs of 1,800. So it was taking
the off-season dip hit him pretty hard.
That off-season dip hit. I'll mention the Roths 250 to 300. All right, number 5. So kind of hinted at who it is. Leon Draisaitl, Edmonton Oilers. This is one guy I just like feel for him because I feel like he is overshadowed, but he tied his previous best for regular season last year. Sorry, when he had the regular season points, he tied when he won the Hart Trophy in 2019 and 2020. So last year he had 110 points, 55 goals, 55 assists. Had his best playoff stats by far with 7 goals and 25 assists for 32 points. And I think he got a lot of love because he was playing with that leg injury. They'd show him, kind of hobbling over to the bench. He played through it, so obviously a lot of hockey fans.
He was playing like a dynamo.
Yeah.
And then unbelievable. And then the whistle would blow and he would like fall over and lay on the ice for 3 minutes.
And if you know
it was incredible to watch.
Yeah, and if you know the culture of hockey, it's a lot of hockey people loved it, that he fought through it. He's one too. He just continues to progressively get better with not a lot, maybe not all the hype as his teammate Connor McDavid, but he's also becoming a better overall player and stepping up his defensive game. I found a couple more interviews where they're talking about how he's kind of improved his defensive play and back checking, which we kind of forget about when we do Hockey Card Podcast because we're focused on points, the things tangible values we can see. You don't think about the defensive role some of these forwards play. And we've talked about this before. As long as he's on a team with McDavid, he's going to be the second fiddle. I think that's a given, and he could be fine with it, but I think that's just how it is. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. He's still, even though he's in that role, he's still a top player in the league. and he should continue. Obviously, we talked about Edmonton and their core and how they might make a Stanley Cup final run. He should keep producing, right at his prime. So he's still on the good side of the age curve for now. I did a little bit now. I want to say 27. He's the one guy I didn't write down his age. That's what he's 20. I think he's 27. I'll look it up in a little bit, but he's another one. If Edmonton has a fantastic year, everything kind of goes their way, he could hit 60 for goals. Again, a lot of pieces have to come into place, but if you look, he's got a 17.5 shooting percentage, which is that's crazy. So he can definitely find the net. It's just getting him shots. Definitely could be a 60-goal scorer with that team and what they're kind of poised to do this year.
He's 26.
Is he 26? Okay, I was off by a year. That's good. I mean, it's not as old as I thought. His Young Guns is 2014-15 Young Guns, PSA 10. The pop's low, $564. It currently hovers around $780, but in around November 21, it was up around $1,500 to $1,800. So it is kind of dipped hard from then. And it's just kind of, if you look at the chart, it's just been kind of on a constant, steady, slow decline. I'm not sure why. I don't have a really good reason. I don't think it's due to production. It's not. I mean, they had a deep playoff run. I wonder if it comes back to that he doesn't have the shine of the other guy on the team.
Yeah, how much shine is there to go around? Yep. That's probably part of the issue. Maybe it just comes down to, like with McDavid, can they make some hay in the playoffs next year? I guess assuming that they get there. I do think, though, for a guy like Draisaitl, and this would probably apply to MacKinnon too, that the national TV deals with ESPN and TNT can only help these players. And I think that's a big part of getting in the playoffs too. Like, I hadn't watched a lot of Edmonton, admittedly, before the playoffs, and I watched every game in that they played, and Draisaitl blew me away.
Yep.
And it made, I'm looking at your notes here where with a Young on PSA 10 pop 564, which is pretty small, at $780. It's like, man, that feels tempting to me. It's not even from just a collector perspective, that's not a bad value at that point. I have no idea what room there is for growth, but if you're a Draisaitl fan, I wouldn't be upset paying that amount.
No,
I guess
probably definitely one of the cheaper values on this list. So, all right, so that's the 5. Obviously, as we go, we will do kind of some different groupings and different tiers. We're not going to focus on all the top players all the time. We kind of like last week, we did the breakout veteran players along with the Calders. So definitely more to come in the previews. If you have any ideas for players you want to see kind of a little bit of analysis on, definitely let us know. Glad to look into them.
Yeah, we love suggestions. Okay, let's roll on into some real quick hobby news, and then we'll play our interview with Tony. We mentioned a few of these already, but just want to run through them. So MacKinnon did today, that's the 20th, the day that we're recording this, signed his 8-year deal. It's $100.8 million. Big reward, and congratulations to him for winning the cup, and he'll have a lot of security. I would be, as we've already mentioned, a little worried about the last 4 years of that deal.
Yep.
If I was an Avalanche fan, but honestly, what are you going to do at that point? He's been a great player for the franchise. He helped win you a cup, and this is what happens in sports. He, as you mentioned, would have been an unrestricted free agent after the season had he not signed. We had a bunch of not legendary, but notable, I think, retirements announced today, Troy. So you had PK Subban, who retired a couple. His 2010 Young Gun PSA 10 is a real small pop 160. Last sold for $52. Real notable player in the league. I don't know if
he won a Norris Trophy.
He won a Norris Trophy. So I don't know. Do you have any comments on PK or?
I mean, I think he got the broadcasting bug last year. He did a really good job, and I think
he was good.
Yeah, he was really good, and I think just his career has kind of been steadily declining his production. And I think he just said, "Hey, I think he's 33, 34, somewhere in there." Said, I think I'm going to just take this broadcasting gig and save my body and call it a career.
Yeah, congrats to him on a great career. The other one we already mentioned too is Zdeno Chara, who began his career in 1997.
That's insane. That's just crazy to me.
If you are into his rookie, it's a SP Authentic Future Watch. So that year they were not auto or numbered. And the last sale I saw for that was $38 for raw on eBay. And then the last guy that announced today was Keith Yandel. Any big Keith Yandel memories?
No.
Cry yourself to sleep at night?
No memories. Not a big Keith Yandel fan. I have nothing against him. I just didn't watch him very much.
I think he had a good career, but
yeah. Oh, for sure. He's been around for a while.
His Young Guns is 2006, one of my favorite design years for Young Guns. That's also the tribute year and extended this year.
Yep.
It's his PSA 10 Pop 18, so pretty small, last sold for about $100. So congrats to all those guys on their great careers. The only other piece of hobby news we have, Troy, is we have one card show shout out. Just a reminder, if you guys are involved in a card show or have one in your area that you want us to mention, please feel free to message us, whether it be on Facebook or Twitter or through Instagram, and we're happy to do that. This shout out comes from our Instagram friend, Cards with Juice. There is a CSC card show in Markham, Ontario, September 25th. So that'd be this weekend, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. at the Hilton in Markham. For more information, you can go to cscmarketplace.com. And according to Cards with Juice, there's lots of hockey cards there. So let us know if you go.
Like to hear it. Lots of hockey cards.
Okay, so as we mentioned already, we had the privilege yesterday of chatting with Tony Sirianni at Upper Deck a little bit. We're going to go ahead and play that interview now. In the middle of the interview, there are some background, a little bit of noise issues. We apologize for that. Tried our best in the editing process to remove them, but just wanted to acknowledge them. So we hope you enjoy our interview with Tony. All right, well, welcome back to the show, Tony Sirianni from Upper Deck. Hey, Tony, how's it going?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me back on.
So we were just talking a little bit before we started recording about life at Upper Deck these days. You guys have been pretty busy, it looks like.
Very busy, very busy. Busy is good, though, right? Like we talked last time, a lot of products in the pipeline, a lot of stuff finally coming out. You guys are seeing that. We have a lot of stuff coming in the next few months. It's great to see. We're all internally very happy. I know you guys are happy as well. So, yeah, we're just trying to get caught up. Try to get you guys as many exciting new sets as we can. So yeah, they're finally coming.
Yeah, you guys have had a pretty good few months, that's for sure, and we've been pretty complimentary of the number of the releases that have come out really in the last 2 months. They've all seemed to hit pretty good with collectors, both within the hockey realm, and I know you work on some sets that fall a little bit outside of hockey too. From what I understand, you did Black Diamond, and that was a really great release. Personally, I'm a big fan of Exquisite, so get real excited for the bottom card in the pack there. That's awesome. A big one. But I think primarily today what we wanted to chat about, with the luxury of having you on the show, is the newly released Metal Universe Champions that I know that you worked on. There's a little bit of hockey tie-in to that. Oh, yeah. So we have interested in learning more about that. And then the soon to come Artifacts, which is should come out in the next, looks like just a little bit more than a week or so from now. But Troy, I know you had some questions regarding Metal Universe Champions, so I'll turn it over to you.
Definitely. Yeah. So I actually watched a lot of boxes being ripped, and I just want to say I'm usually not that impressed. I actually loved it when I was watching it. I think all the cards looked awesome. The inserts. I saw a guy hit a Michael Jordan pink PMG. So it was out of 75, I think. And it just they look fantastic. So even though it's not, there's a couple of three hockey players in there, it's a really cool product if people are looking into it. So could you give us kind of just the background? I believe it's a new set for this year.
Yeah, brand new. That's the first year. 2021 is kind of the inaugural release for Metal Universe Champions. But yeah, we're really happy with it. Obviously, we would have loved to have had it out earlier for you guys, again, with the 2021 year on the product. But we're 22 will be out. You guys will see that one, I think, or at least early 23 should be reasonable to get that one out. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of a cousin of Goodwin. If you're familiar with Goodwin Champions, a lot of the same subjects. Like we borrow from or share that checklist. So a lot of the top, football players from 2021, the high draft pick quarterback class, a lot of those guys are in there. a variety of other sports. You mentioned some hockey guys. We got Shane Wright in there, obviously Gretzky in there. We a little bit of legends and some up and comers. So yeah, it was fun to sprinkle some hockey in there. Shane Wright really had a very limited presence in Goodwin. He had some exquisite cards, but he didn't appear in like the traditional base set for that product. So he was way more limited. So we wanted to kind of include him a little more here with PMG chase, some rare autos and stuff like that. So yeah, we feel good that we really nailed all 4 major sports with someone, or at least multiple names. We got basketball, again, whether it's legends like Jordan and LeBron, but we also had, some of the rookies like Scotty Barnes and Josh Giddey. Football, we talked about the quarterback class, some of those wide receivers. We had Waddle, who had a big day yesterday. So it's fun. It's fun to be finally out, and it's, again, as the market goes, as these guys perform, I think there'll be some pretty big cards coming out of there.
So on the hockey side, so you mentioned the players. The ones I saw were Gretzky, Shane Wright, Matt Savoy are the 3 that I saw. And I'm just curious how that process works of which hockey guys to include in this, because obviously they're not in licensed jerseys or anything. It doesn't have NHL teams. I'm just curious how the process is to get them in, and actually the new guys like Shane Wright, Matt Savoy. How does that whole process of deciding on them to get them into this product?
Yeah, I mean, coordinator team that's been worked on this for a long time, they deserve a lot of credit. They kind of build out that checklist, and they made those decisions as far as who deserves to come over from Goodwin and who deserves to just be in Goodwin. So there are some musicians and a few other names from the world of pop culture and outside of sports, but for the most part, we really wanted the Metal Champions checklist to be heavily driven by sports. So that was a good indicator right there. Well, if we're going to have basketball names and football names, and there's some really good baseball prospects in there too, and baseball rookies. So it just made sense to have some of those hockey guys, and Savoy and Wright were names that we were able to include here. They're not NHL technically yet, so it was kind of fun to put them in before you start seeing rookie cards of them in their NHL uniforms and everything. So probably be prospecting sort of cards down the road. I'm sure that's how collectors will view them, since they kind of predate their NHL rookies. But yeah, we just really wanted to make sure that all of the major sports were covered, and the coordinator did a really good job with that.
For sure, yeah. I mean, even the hockey cards, they look great. I mean, I love the look of them. I'm going to keep saying that. So, yeah, they looked awesome in the inserts. I didn't see any of the jambalayas get pulled or anything, but funny story with Josh. Like when I first saw a jambalaya, like a picture of it, I was like, oh, that, I don't know, I don't get the big deal. And then he called me. He's like, I'm at a card shop and they have one. We're gonna go there and look at it. And then when I saw it in person, I was like, whoa, those are really cool.
Yeah, they're very unique technology we use on jambalaya cards. Shane Wright does have one, so hockey collectors are looking for that. He does have a jambalaya in that set, as does Gretzky. So, but yeah, we love that insert. We it's been around a long time, and it's fun to give it kind of a new design and a fresh take. One fun thing with this set was we actually worked with the design team that did the original Metal Universe set.
Yeah, yep.
So I think that's out there. I think most of the public is aware of that, but a team named Arena Design really are the ones behind it, and we wanted to keep that kind of legacy going with this one. So yeah, they thought they did an amazing job, again, redesigning some of our classic inserts, like we mentioned Jambalaya, but then we also introduced some new stuff. But yeah, I think it's very unique and it stands out for sure when you open the product.
Excellent. And then talking about the cards in this, the big chase obviously is going to be all the PMGs.
Yeah.
And when I was looking through it, now you got to correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like I saw 6 different colors that were in this.
Right.
And to me, that seemed like a lot more than I'm used to seeing in a set. Like Metal Universe Hockey, I think only had 3. And then I think some of the Marvels might have had 2 or 3. I don't remember 6, but I was curious on that decision. Is that something we can look at going forward, being more colors in a set, or is that just a special case for?
I think in this product, we really wanted to give it its own kind of its own legacy. Again, year one, we wanted to create a variety of color. There's new design PMGs, but then you can also go back and find the classic, the 97, 98, and those only exist within their classic colors this year. So you only have red and green. But the newly designed, we really wanted to expand that and give people other colors. And player collectors love the rainbow chase and collecting all of them. So we just thought it would be better to give everybody a larger pool of cards, more color, different serial numbering. So if you're a big, whether it's Jordan or Matt Savoy or Naomi Osaka, there's a variety of cards out there to go collect and kind of put that rainbow together. So I think you'll see that in some sets. I can say Metal Champions will be back. We're happy with this product. It will live on. So I think you'll see those variety of colors moving forward. Whereas other sets, we may still choose to be more limited. But this one, I think you'll definitely see the color variety going forward.
Okay, cool. And to me, it kind of seems like the demand for this product is out there. I mean, I've watched the retail sites and see what they're charging, and they're definitely it's up there. But they must be getting some business for it. I guess I had another, like my final question. I'll let Josh chime in. Was when you see, because we've kind of watched online, there's people offering these bounties for PMGs. Like there's I think a Jordan Retro 50,000 bounty from Dave and Adams. I've heard of 500,000 to $1 million if you can get the Jordan Purple PMG, the 101. And I'm just curious, from your own personal view, how do you look at bounties? Do you think they're exciting because they're showing people are interested, or is it kind of something you just let happen and don't have much of an opinion on? I'm just curious your thoughts on bounty programs that aren't related to Upper Deck.
Yeah, I mean, we do our bounty program. That's a little different. Yeah, I mean, I guess if, there's that much buzz and there's somebody who really strongly wants that card in their collection, I don't see any problem with if they want to get the word out to the community, hey, I really want this card and this is what I'm willing to pay for it. Yeah, I don't see any issue with that. I think that can definitely drive a frenzy, right? Of, oh man, if I go get this one, David Adams is going to take care of me, or they're going to want to keep the card. Know. That purple 1/1 Jordan will be very highly sought after card. Yeah. So I've seen a green online. I think they're asking like over $400,000. I mean, again, that's asking price, but that one's on eBay. You can go see that one. They have retro green up, but yeah, I think it's cool in the sense that it's just getting the word out that, hey, there's some big cards in here, and if you guys are lucky enough to pull it and you're inclined to sell it, there's someone who wants it. So yeah, I think it's a good thing. I don't see any issue with that. How do you guys feel about it?
I like it because I think it shows that there's interest, there's demand, there's people want it. I always hope I'm the one that pulls it, but I've never pulled anything close. And usually I don't buy enough of the big end, high end products because I was thinking about Drake when he bought all the, I don't know what it was, Flawless basketball or National Treasure basketball, looking for that LeBron triple logo, man.
Right.
Sure. Yeah, I love watching people go for bounties, and when they hit, that's pretty cool.
I enjoy watching people rip the product and have a good time with it. Try to keep up on the breaks, watch some breaks this week. And we'll continue to do that. Again, it's good to see what the community thinks about it. There's no way better than to literally see the product broken live and get the reaction. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. It's like looking for the golden ticket. You got a new car or maybe a new house. Who knows, depending on what you pull. So, yeah, I don't see any issues with that.
So I do have a follow-up question related to PMGs. I'm kind of curious, Tony, if you guys I assume you're thinking and having discussions about how to manage this brand within your portfolio of products, and because the last year especially, and we mainly, of course, look at the hockey card market side of it, but the values have gone through the roof. We just this past week did a study of the 2020 Metal Universe PMGs, and we've had 2 public sales over $100,000 already, and that set's really 9 months old or something like that.
One of ones, right? Yeah, massive cards, massive. Yeah.
So how do you guys manage the demand for these cards without, I guess, oversaturating the market? Or it just seems like a delicate balance to me. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
Oh, it's great. Balance is the correct word. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I hope to see Metal Champs as a year-over-year product. I don't know what the long-term plan is 5-10 years from now, but I am confident in saying that you will see this product over the next few years, and it will have PMGs. Mm-hmm. With that being said, I can tell you that some things have already been put in place for 22 that will help preserve the value of some of those PMGs. Because as you guys know, with anything else, the more market saturation, the more PMGs of the same guys year over year, it does start to degrade the value. So we understand that. We're definitely not trying to do that. And I think, again, our coordinator group and working directly with us, just kind of having a strategy in place for that will help with that. But yeah, balance is the key, really. You don't want to throw too many Jordans out there. You don't want to throw too many LeBrons or Tiger, whoever the subject is.
Sure.
But we also know that those drive the product, right? So you don't want to necessarily do a year of the product where Jordan doesn't have a PMG or Tiger doesn't have a PMG, but there's other areas where we try to balance it. Like you mentioned Jambalaya, like maybe you don't see Jordan and Jambalaya every year. Maybe you don't see LeBron in there every year. Similarly with some of the PMGs, right? We're definitely aware of that. We don't want to degrade the value, especially with just coming out with this product. The last Jordan PMG and LeBron PMGs would have been in like our retro sets back in like 2014. So it's been a while.
Sure.
But we understand, we can't pump out 5-6 years worth the exact same PMGs and expect the value to hold. So
or put more rookies in them.
We got some strategies and some balance in the works to kind of to alleviate that.
Is putting more rookies in PMGs an option to kind of get the brand out there more and into collectors' hands, but not be featuring the same players over and over again? Okay.
I think that's part of it. And then on the hockey side too, again, you can't release a metal product and not have PMGs of McDavid or Crosby or some of those names, like you mentioned, those big sales, those big one-of-one sales we've seen. But I'm sure Billy has worked, and he's aware of the two. He's worked through the strategy of how to keep those values up there.
Okay, so we just had a successful release of Metal Universe Champions, and now the next big hockey release is a product that you've worked on as well. And we're expecting it on the 28th. Is that correct for Artifacts 2021-22?
Yeah, I'm hearing the 28th. I'm hoping that holds. I haven't heard anything that would lead me to believe it won't. So, yeah, you guys should be seeing that one by the end of the month. Very excited for that. It's different this year in the sense that there's no redemptions. Artifacts historically has been a preseason release where we don't have the new rookies in the product. So we do the planned redemption cards to get those rookies in there. The product being delayed in the way it has been, we made the decision to pack all those rookies out live. We didn't want collectors to have to go through that extra step this year. And I do understand that there is a legacy to the brand. And again, we're working to get back on track. So if things work out, this should be the only Artifacts you're seeing without those rookie redemptions. Next year, we're back to a normal schedule. We're releasing preseason, and your planned redemptions are in there. But yeah, this will be a unique one to watch because it's got them all in there. Zegras, Sider, Raymond, everyone's in there live. So you don't need to wait for fulfillment. There are those wild card redemptions and some of that stuff in the past where you didn't know necessarily who the rookie was, or, with even the team logo ones, you might not have known who the rookies were. No mystery. Like, the rookies are all in there now. So I think it'll be good. Again, with the product being delayed, I think that would have been probably would have left a sour taste in collectors' mouths if they had to wait this long, and then on top of it, still have to wait for redemption. So I think it's a good thing. I think it was the right move, and yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see it and to hear what you guys think about that one.
So by redemptions, just to make sure that I understand, those were like the Roman numeral cards. Is that what you're talking? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, basically, historically in the past, the box of Artifacts would yield you one of those sort of redemption cards. And that was a big chase for people. If you got one of the low Roman numerals, or an auto or a patch variant of one of the top rookies or top team logos, there's a lot of excitement there. So yes, those are all live. The cards are in there. Anything that was a Roman numeral or was a emerald auto patch of rookie with the Red Wings or whoever it is, it's all there. Like, none of that content is removed, but you're just now not waiting to get it fulfilled. It's all in the product. As far as other redemptions, I can tell you there are no redemptions in the product at all. Everything is in there live. There was no need for, again, the plan stuff. And we were, again, sometimes that's the advantage when these products are delayed, is you have more time for these athletes to return their cards. So we got everything we need. Everybody's in there. Everybody's live. So it should be a fun and a nice experience for everybody when they rip that one.
And then I was looking at a little bit today just at the basic configuration, so everybody knows. Right now, from a hobby box perspective, it's 8 packs per box, 4 cards per pack. And then in each box, there's 3 autograph or memorabilia cards or Aurum, which we'll talk about in a little bit, the bounty program cards. Also 1 rookie well, that's an old no redemptions, so it'd be 1 rookie or clear cut per box, and then up to 4 serial cards per box as well. And Artifacts is only hobby, correct? No retail?
There is retail. Yeah, Artifacts has a retail component as well. Yeah, hobby. That one is hobby and retail only.
Gotcha.
No e-pack or anything like that, but yeah, it does have the blasters are going to be really nice. There's a lot of we added in a lot of new exclusive parallels. So I think you get like a total of like 6 exclusive parallels in a blaster.
Okay.
Maybe come up to like 1 per pack. And again, that will include all the big rookies. So there will be exclusive parallels and stuff that you can pull of all those top names from 21-22. But there's the hobby exclusives. There's hobby exclusive rare rookie cards that you can't get in retail.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, Aurum. There's some high-end hard sign cards. We're doing a new arena artifacts. We've been doing those now for a few years where we kind of honor a different team and a different arena. So we are doing the Red Wings this year. So that's
I saw that was Steve Yzerman card was in your overview, and that is cool.
That's a loaded checklist. Any legendary wing that you'd expect is going to be in there with the arena relic. So those are really cool cards. Yeah, I think overall it's going to be a pretty loaded product.
And then just for everyone listening too, from what I've seen and checking around on U.S. retailing sites right now, pre-sales are about $140 US, $2,700 for a 20-box case, and then on Canadian sites, I've seen 190 Canadian dollars. So pretty affordable, I guess, as hockey cards go. And one of the questions I have for you, and so Troy and I are starting a series aimed at new collectors and trying to help them because, like any hobby, I guess, it's hard to step right into. There's a lot to know, and we're trying to produce some content to help everyone get up to speed. And one of the things that was probably still a little bit confusing for me, to be honest, but was especially at first, is when you look at all these brands and you think of a set like Artifacts coming out in a week, how would you put like where that Artifacts fits into the hierarchy of hockey cards? Like, what's its differentiator, or what makes it unique and something that someone would want to chase?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I would say if you're a new collector and you're trying to see like what brands are kind of within your wheelhouse or which ones you want to collect, I mean, Artifacts has a little bit of everything in the sense that it has serial numbered rookie cards, including rare, low numbered, all the way down to 1 of 1. So you have a very finite number of rookies. I mean, as young guns, as you guys know, are ratioed, right? Mm-hmm. Rookie cards in this product are all numbered, so there's it has a much more limited feel. The variety of memorabilia too is big in Artifacts. I mean, with a name like Artifacts, we know it's important. So you've got a lot of different jersey cards, a lot of different premium material cards. As you mentioned, the arena Artifacts. We're doing some new hard signed auto patch cards that are super high, like case hit level cards. So it's got a little bit of everything, but it doesn't have, as you mentioned, like the SRP of like an Ultimate Collection or a Premier or anything like that, right? It's a premium, but it's not a super premium. I would put it sort of in a call it like kind of like a mid-level product, not. I wouldn't say it's beginner. It's certainly not. $190 is not cheap, right? That's expensive. That's an expensive pack if you're buying, by the pack at eight packs per box. So, I think it's not a beginner level product like an OPG or an MVP, but certainly not as costly as like an Ultimate or a Premier, an SP Authentic, something like that. It has both hard signed and labels. So I mean, some collectors, they only want hard signed cards. So
yeah.
If that's your preference, there'll be a more limited amount of cards that you're going to look for in artifacts. There are some hard signed, but like your rookie cards or labels kind of stuff. So that's something a collector may want to keep into account. But I think it's a really fun product. If you're breaking it by the box, you mentioned you're getting 4 numbered cards. You're going to get a numbered rookie of some type. In addition, 3 hits. Whether that's auto, mem, or the Orem card to go towards our bounty program. So it's got a little bit of everything. So I think it's a pretty well balanced set. Beautiful looking cards. The tech is really nice. It's a 24-point stock.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of deco foil. You'll see a lot of decorative foil, a lot of different colored foil in there, and as I mentioned, serial numbering. So everything has a limited feel to it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I noticed. Oh, sorry, was that when I was comparing today the checklist between 2020 and 2021, that you guys have increased the amount of serial numbered cards, at least in the base set.
Yeah, that sounds right. We also added in those new clear cuts you mentioned, which with now all the rookies being live, we did want to include a new kind of exciting chase. Whereas, all right, I know there are collectors that enjoyed that mystery of when you pull a Roman numeral or you pull a serial number or a team logo rookie card, and the anticipation of who that's going to be. I do understand that. So we did want to add something new. So we do have a clear cut chase in there, which are going to be beautiful cards. Totally different from the clear cut product, but we'll use that acetate clear material for those cards. So there's going to be rookies in there. There's going to be some retro legends and star players. So very excited to see how those do and see how those are received. But I think they're a great addition to the product.
And then do we expect to have the escalating levels of memorabilia in the set too, from like manufactured or jersey patches to player worn game? Is there any game used in artifacts or no?
Yeah, there's definitely some game used.
Okay.
There's no manufactured in artifacts.
Okay.
There's game used. There is some player worn material, but there's definitely no manufactured within that product at all.
Good to know. Yeah. And then the last thing that I was really curious about is it pronounced Orem or Orem? But the bounty program?
That's right.
Orem.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big chase.
Oh, yeah. Bounty. Some nice prizes at the end. I think there's like a duel of there's a big goalie dual auto and also some rookie chase cards. Yeah, that bounty's loaded. That one goes every year. It's a lot of fun. Again, if you pull an Orem card as one of your hits, it's not an auto, it's not a mem, but it's tied to some pretty big cards. So if you're whether you go to your local store or you have an online community, like that bounty program is the winner. Like you definitely are going to want to collect those and go chase those. There's a special set which will have rookie cards in there, but there's also big chases with autographs too. So
it is 48 cards, right?
That's correct. Yep, you collect the 48, and then there's I believe it's like an 8 or 9 card set, along with 2 key rookies that weren't in packs. And then if you're one of the first to do it, there's a dual autograph card, and I believe there's also a single. So there's a lot of big chase there.
How quickly do you think if you had to guess, will the first person redeem all 48?
How quickly?
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it with SP Authentic recently. We do at the Spectrum one. It takes about a week for people to get busted and people to do it. Yeah, I mean, who knows, right? If a lot of people break the product opening night and start trading around, but usually we see those start to go in about a week. Usually 1 week, about a week from release, you'll start to see, and you can track it, right? If you go to upperdeckbounty.com and just select whatever program it is you're watching, like you'll see that number go down. Like we have a ticker, we keep it very transparent for collectors, so they know like there were 30 sets at the beginning, but maybe there's only 10 left now. So it definitely adds to the race, the frenzy of it. And I think there's definitely a collector group that they like being the first. The cards are numbered, so if you put the first set together, your cards are going to be number 1 or number 2, serial numbered sequentially. So, yeah, I'll watch for that this year. We'll see. But my prediction is about a week to get that one done. Maybe it'll be sooner. We'll see.
Well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
We do have, okay, so I guess I should mention again, Artifacts is scheduled to come out on the 28th. It looks like that's the date now. Wherever you typically get your hockey cards. It'll be hobby at first, and then I assume, Tony, that retail comes out a few weeks after or a certain amount after the hobby.
Yeah, it's historically within a few weeks. As far as I know, that's the cadence for this one as well. Yeah, it shouldn't be very far behind hobby.
Sounds good. Okay, so when we were talking a few days ago, you were very gracious and allowed us to solicit some questions from our listeners, and we're going to go through those real quickly before we let you go. I did have to start, though, with one question from me, because so maybe this first one isn't from the listeners. I'm just curious. So Troy and I have been talking a lot about and been tracking Alexander Ovechkin. And, over the next 2.5, 3 years, if he continues to play well, even though he's 36 years old, but there's a pretty big record that he's chasing. Are you guys planning anything special around that? Or are you talking about how to commemorate if in fact, I mean, obviously it's not a given that it'll happen, but it seems like a pretty big deal.
Oh, it's a huge deal, and we're well aware. Yeah, we've been tracking it. We love Ovi. We want to continue our partnerships with him and commemorate that if and when he does break Gretzky's record. I mean, definitely it's going to be a massive deal. So I hope I like to see it. I love Wayne, but it would be incredible to see that. Though some of those records people thought would never even be touched.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will definitely take good care of Ovechkin and commemorate that moment if and when it happens. Yeah, we're watching. We're watching it just like you guys.
Well, I think it's just crazy. It's crazy that you hear breaking Gretzky's goal record. Like, it doesn't compute in my head sometimes. I know. And it's just like, what am I saying? Or what are these people saying? But now you look at it, I mean, he's got a realistic shot if he can stay healthy. For me and Josh are trying to do projections, look at the age, see if we can, what do we think? 3 years if he stays healthy with that.
Yeah, the hard part is he's already he's kind of, I'm not going to compare him to Tom Brady from a production versus age perspective, but scoring 50 goals at 36 years old has never been done before. So you're in uncharted territory right now, and so it's really hard to predict from that perspective, but I'm glad you guys are excited about that too. And it is nice that Wayne publicly came out and endorsed that he's, excited for Ovechkin and breaking the record too. So I think
it doesn't get more gracious and humble than Wayne Gretzky. I mean, that dude is a class act. And we, as you guys know, we have a strong relationship there. And I'm sure it's wild for him to see stuff like that happening too. It's things that seemed insurmountable now are within reach. So yeah, it'll be fun to watch for sure. Definitely.
Okay, so now we'll get into the listener questions, and we're going to start with one I'm sure you get asked all the time, and I'm doubtful you're going to answer, but we have to do our jobs and ask it anyways. So this comes from JPS Sports Cards 9787, and it looks like Branner Cards. They basically want to know when the 2020-2021 Cup is coming up.
It's a great question. I wish I had the answer for that one. I can tell you I learned early on with my time at Upper Deck, it's almost like Fight Club. Like, the first rule of the Cup is you don't talk about the Cup.
Love it.
So it's not my product either, but I love seeing that product out. It's so fun. I mean, some of the most amazing cards we produce all year. I wish I could say more, but it's coming. But I don't have any details on a release date. But it'll be massive when it does.
Fair enough. Yeah, it'll be a big one for sure. Okay, here's a question that actually Troy and I thought was actually pretty interesting. and it's from @spent. I'd love to hear more about how they, being you, commission and select photos for cards.
Yeah, we work, we have a whole dedicated photo department, and, that's their job is picking the photos and sourcing the photography, and they do a great job with that. Hockey is a little more straightforward in the sense that we have a deal with the NHL, and we have imagery from Getty and other sources that we are able to pull from and use that imagery. Once you start going outside of hockey, though, it's a lot more difficult when you go with an unlicensed, like we talked, Metal Champs, not having an NBA license. You got to get creative with your images of LeBron and Jordan and Simmons and the like. And the other, we don't have the NFL. You can't show Zach Wilson in the Jets. You can't show Waddle in the Dolphins, right? So we do the best we can. I think our photo team did a really nice job with Champs. I thought they found a nice variety of photos of people in their respective uniforms, at least playing the sport, and also some everyday kind of street clothes imagery. So, yeah, I give it to them. I tip my hat to them for finding unique imagery we haven't seen, but the NHL, I think they do an amazing job. Like, they're watching it as the games happen, and we're pulling imagery. Young Guns is, the first big one for them every year. The first week of the season, like, they're watching every game and taking notes and having photographers in the right arenas and getting us the shots we need. So, yeah, I think our NHL photos are awesome, and they'll keep doing better with that, and we'll keep being more creative and finding new outlets for our unlicensed stuff as well. So, I really got to give the props to the photo team on that one.
Okay, so Austin Henderson 1 asked, and I think we have already talked about this, unless there's something that Troy and I are not aware of, but the next product to come out would be Artifacts, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, good. That means there's not a surprise product coming out today or tomorrow that we hadn't heard of. Here's a question from @Hockey Cards Up that I thought was interesting, and obviously this is way before your time, and so this is more, I guess, just asking your personal perspective. But what mistakes did Upper Deck make in the 90s, quote unquote junk wax era? And what do you think as a company Upper Deck learned from that time?
Yeah, I don't think it was just Upper Deck. I think we can all safely say that the junk wax era, I just think that everybody was just mass producing cards.
Yeah. Everyone's
volumes were through the roof. They thought there was an endless stream of customers that were going to want to buy this stuff and collect it. And it just oversaturated. I think, Fleer and Topps and Upper Deck, Donruss, all those companies that were around. I'm sure there's 4 or 5 other ones that I'm not mentioning right now. But yeah, during that era, there was just a lot of people making a ton of cards, and there wasn't any sort of responsibility or market. I don't know if integrity is the right word, but there wasn't anyone keeping an eye on how much of a demand there really was. I think they were just, everyone was just making as much as they could and thought it would all be gobbled up, and it clearly wasn't the case, right? There's only so many collectors. So our team before my time and since I've been here are very careful with that. We are very delicate with oversaturating, or on the other hand, not producing enough product. We're at that point now where sometimes there's just not enough, or we need to make more of stuff. But I would say between us and the competitors, no one is even close to printing what was being made in those during that era. So yeah, I just think we've and I'm sure I can, not speaking for them, but everyone's just tried to be more responsible about it. And no one wants to see a repeat of free falling values and stuff getting closed out, and all the years that everybody went to the flea markets or wherever they were looking for cards, and those wax boxes were $5, right? Like, nobody wants to see that. So it's not the case anymore, though. A lot of junk wax stuff kind of had a resurgence, but we're just way more responsible. No one is trying to repeat those mistakes, and I can tell you, we're nowhere near that, not even close. So yeah, you guys don't have to worry about that.
Well, we've spent a fair amount of time looking into the very late 80s, early 90s cards. And to some degree, I think there's actually a misperception a little bit too. For instance, if you look at like gem mint graded cards, whether it be a BGS 9.5 or PSA 10 or SGC 10, of some cards that you would assume like maybe a 1990 Jaromir Jagr or 89 Sakic, they're not as high as you would think they are. And in fact, there's a lot of more ultra modern, whether it be like an Auston Matthews or Connor McDavid or Kirill Kaprizov, where their population counts actually are greater than a lot of these cards. And what you hear, Tony, like you'll often hear as a response to that as well. There's just millions of cards sitting in someone's basement. It's like, well, it's been 30 some years at this point, and I don't know how many if there's 20,000 gem mints of Jaromir Jagr's rookies just sitting around at this point. So I think a little bit too is a sort of a reframing as we're getting more data in the collecting space, that we're really looking at that era a little bit differently too. Okay, Tony, so the next question is a little bit of an interesting one from my perspective. It's from axknight_64. I assume the answer is no here, but are you guys going to stop printing PMGs?
I don't think we'll stop printing PMGs.
Yeah, I think you would have a revolt on your hands if you did that. We'll just move on to the next one. So at Luke Parrott _ this is, I think, an interesting idea, and Troy's actually mentioned this a little bit in our conversations too. Will there ever be a custom card program from Upper Deck?
So do you mean like you could send in like photos of yourself or get your own card?
Yeah, I'm thinking the guy or whoever sent it in. I'm guessing that's what they're thinking. Now I know you correct me if I'm wrong. Upper Deck's done it at like arenas or events, right, where you can get your picture taken and then put on a card.
Yeah,
I'm guessing this. Yeah, that's super cool. I'm guessing this person was thinking like that. And I think last time you were on, I tried to get you to commit to, because I coach high school hockey at Minnetonka for the girls program, and I was like, oh, I want all young guns for all our players. I want their, but
we need to get marketing involved with that one. We can see what we can do. But,
all right.
I don't know if we will roll anything out in the sense that like you can go online and create your card. Maybe that might be something that marketing has planned. It's a great idea. But like you mentioned, yes, like we do live activations at events where you can get a personalized trading card. They're awesome. If you guys are, when we come to your area, we come to town, we do usually partner with the NHL or our own events. But yeah, if like we'll do like, Stadium Series, Winter Classic, All-Star. If it comes to your town and you guys are able to go to the Fan Fest and check out Upper Deck's booth, like you could definitely see what we're doing that event. But usually we do a personalized card station, which is really cool. But I'll look into that to see if that's something we're planning internally for direct. But top of the list is Troy's Young
Minnetonka.
So,
well, it's
Minnetonka Young Guns. So
it's kind of funny because we had 7 players on our team make the Team USA U18 team. And I was sitting there. I was like, "Oh, you can maybe." I don't even know if this would be possible. Have them like some of those players in the USA uniforms would be kind of cool. Like, I was just thinking of all this fun stuff. Like, but that would be an insert. But this is like I'm getting into like I'm going to make my own product line pretty soon.
All I can say is I would pray at some point in my life to see an article that says Upper Deck delays release of the cup to push out Minnetonka Young Guns. That would make me really happy and would probably create a revolt.
Yeah, I'd probably get
on the doorsteps of Upper Deck. But
you mentioned a Team USA. Like, what do you think about that? Do you think the Team USA set would do well?
I would think so. I would think so. I'm curious because I always wondered if the USA women's national team cards, because they're just starting to get added into. They're getting women pro hockey players into NHL 23 or 22, the EA Sports video games. Mm-hmm. I think there's a market. It's obviously it's not like the WNBA, but I always thought the women's national teams would make interesting cards. Do I know there's a huge market? Would it make economic sense? I don't know, but it'd still be really cool because you have women's hockey pros, hockey teams. Maybe you could sell them there or wherever, but. would definitely be interesting. You know, I get a different perspective coaching high school girls on some of it, and seeing how really they're really, you know, the college hockey right now is kind of their pro hockey or making the national team, because as there's pro women's hockey, but I can tell you from stories, you know, some teams they have to pay for their own parking, and, you know, it's not where the men are, obviously. But
for sure.
It'd be interesting.
Awesome. Love it. All right. Cool.
Okay, so last question we had from one of our listeners is from @Beatole, and he says, with Fanatics' announcement in the Pivot podcast interview, what is Upper Deck's stance on redemptions from major sets in the future? Will they continue to be phased out altogether? So I think what he's referring to is Michael Rubin, CEO of Fanatics, has come out and publicly and said he wants to, at least from a Fanatics perspective, eliminate all redemptions. I don't know how much of that is aspirational on his, or if there's actual plan to do that. But, and I guess maybe I'm interpreting Beatole's question a little bit, but do you see a shift away from redemptions, or is it sort of the necessary evil that we just have to continue to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely ambitious to try to just eliminate them entirely, but yeah, we would love to do that. We don't like redemptions either. You know, I can say confidently, you know, Grant Sandground, who's my boss, the head of the product development team, he would, if he had his way, he would pack every product out without redemptions. And Billy and I follow that line of thinking. But yeah, unfortunately, if there's a key name or a key rookie, sometimes we just, you know, there's no other choice. If it's whether you have that rookie's auto available or not, you know, we're going to lean towards putting that in there. But I think we've gotten a lot better. You know, I've seen our products even over the last few years, and we talked about, albeit with delayed releases and everything, but I think you're going to see less and less of them, which, again, as much of it as we can control. I don't think you'll see them gone entirely. I think that is, I think that's going to be a tall order. But it'd be great. It would be great for all parties if we could get there eventually. So you will continue to see us putting as little amount of them as needed. But yeah, like the last few releases we put out, no redemptions. We had Black Diamond, nothing artifacts coming out. So we'll keep pushing for no redemptions. But I don't think it's fair to say that they're really entirely removed. But we'll keep trying. Yeah. We'll keep pushing towards that. Sure.
Okay, well, thank you for being gracious enough to answer the question. So before we let you go, anything else going on in Upper Deck that you want to mention that would be great for our listeners to know?
Oh, man. Yeah, just keep an eye on the release calendar. We got some more exciting stuff coming out. Not all hockey, a lot of fun hockey coming, but there's some fun entertainment stuff. I don't know if it's all been announced or not yet, but through the end of the year is going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff in the next few months, both hockey and other sports and some other entertainment stuff. So as soon as I'm allowed to, I'll happily chat with you guys more. But
sure.
I would say I can't wait to see you guys think of artifacts. SP Game Used will be coming soon. I don't have an exact release for that one. But yeah, we've got a lot of cool stuff coming. You guys will be very happy through the end of the year as we keep rolling them out.
Great. And I got to squeak one just to clarify, and I think you've already made this comment, but so you think just in general, looking at the big picture, that you guys are getting caught up from where you were maybe even 3 months ago? Or do you feel like that you're making great progress and getting through the backlog?
I definitely see it. Our team, we deal with the front end stuff where we're, you know, coming up with the vision for the set, building out the set, but we also deal with the back end of the pack out process, the collation docs, the packaging docs, getting everything prepared. And then there's a lot of that going on right now, which tells me there's a lot of stuff coming.
Gotcha. Awesome.
So yeah. I would say we are doing everything we can to get caught up. And we hope to get the cup out for you guys as soon as possible so that we're not 2 years behind. That's not always going to be the case, but we do appreciate your patience and understanding, and it'll rock when it's out. It will be a winner. So just hold tight a little bit longer.
Cool. Well, hey, Tony, thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
Really appreciate you coming on again, and we'll look forward to Artifacts, and there's a whole slew of probably too many products to mention that'll be coming out over the next few months. So we'll hope to have you on again soon. And again, thanks for your time.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that interview with Tony. Again, much thanks to him for taking the time and coming on and answering our questions and your questions. We definitely appreciate that and hope to have him on again in the future. So I want to roll into new product releases. We just talked a bunch with Tony about Artifacts, so I'll just go really quickly. Again, it comes out on the 28th, which is a week from today, the day the podcast is released. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what collectors think of the cards and how the bounty program works, so we'll definitely be following that. The other new release, big news that came out this week is Upper Deck released the checklist for 2022-23 Series 1 Young Guns. You can go on to our Instagram to see that, or Upper Deck, or it's in a million places right now. It's just from a gut reaction standpoint or initial reaction, Troy, it's really close to the MVP SP checklist. I didn't see a lot of surprises. Did you?
No, I didn't. I mean, obviously, if I want my Shane Wright cards, I got to go through Metal Universe Champions right now, but I am assuming he's coming in.
Probably Series 2. And when you look at a lot of these guys, I guess I haven't done a player-by-player study, but it seems like in Series 1, it's a lot of the 2019 draft class that we're starting to see. So that would be Boldy, it's Owen Power, I believe Beniers, right, was in that class.
With current draft picks, it's a touchy game, right? Because if they don't make the team out of training camp, and I mean, you wouldn't even have a picture of them, would you? And you want an action shot, you're not going to have it.
Not at all. And so the big guys are Boldy, Jack Quinn for the Sabres, Kent Johnson, Matty Beniers for the Kraken, Mark McLaughlin, Owen Power for the Sabres. So there's 2 Sabres chases. Lucas Reichel seems like, and his MVP cards are doing pretty well. So I think that'll be pretty exciting for Blackhawks fans to have a pretty decent rookie chase. You have Marco Rossi, who we've talked about. So him and Boldy teaming up on the checklist. And then the last guy I had down is Noah Cates. So again, right now, the holding date or target date for Series 1 looks to be around mid-November. We'll see how that progresses. But those are the guys that will be in Series 1. I'm still not sold on the Young Guns design. In publishing the checklist, I revisited it. I'm not saying it's bad.
No,
it just didn't. I didn't have, I guess, an immediate connection. So I'll be interested personally to see if that grows on me. A couple other notes. It looks like MVP retail releases today on the 21st. So if that's something you're interested in, you can probably look forward to seeing that in Target, Walmart, or whatever retail location that you buy your cards. There was also, Troy, a couple of new pre-sale holding dates added that I hadn't seen yet. First saw these on David Adams. So 2021-22 clear cut. It looks like Upper Deck is targeting the end of December, so the 21st, right before Christmas.
Okay.
Which I thought was interesting because 2020 clear cut just came out. So that product could be within 4 months of each other.
That's going to happen, though. If they want to catch up, it's just they're going to have to make a decision on which products they're going to have really close release dates to.
I couldn't find any pricing yet. So it looks like on Dave and Adams, they're saying pricing or presale will be available on October 6th. And I checked a bunch of Canadian sites and couldn't find any pricing information on that either. The other new product or new to the presale world that I saw is 2022-23 OPG paper. It looks like they're targeting middle of March.
Okay.
So again, no pricing, but just keep an eye out for that. And then the other one, and this is kind of funny, Troy, you and I had talked about with the cup coming out that we both agreed that we thought, okay, well, that's really the final 2020 product. And then I was on one of the Canadian retail sites yesterday or the day before and ran into 2020-21 SP Signature Edition Legends. And I got to be honest, I had never heard of this set.
No, this is where the Gong Show name comes into play. Because we were like, have you heard of that? I'm like, well, I've heard of SP Authentic. I've heard of SPX. Heard of SP Game Used. This one, I was like, I don't know what this is. And everyone on the listening might be like, well, you dummies, this has been around for this long and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's a Gong Show. This was a Gong Show moment, and we did some research.
Yeah, lest you think we're hockey experts, leave it to us to not have any clue what a set is. It does look pretty cool. It's, per the name, Signature Edition Legends. It's really heavy autograph for legendary players. I didn't spend a ton of time, but the cards look pretty cool. The details are a little sketchy on it. For a minute, I thought, is this only a Canadian release? Because really, it's the Canadian sites where I found the most information. There's nothing on David Adams or Steel City. I did find reference to it on Blowout in their release calendar, and it's a November TBD date they have. So
what did you say it was like? What was sketchy about it?
There just wasn't a lot of information. So I didn't mean sketchy in a bad way.
I thought you were saying like the Canadians get the sketchy stuff. Like we're just going to put that to the Canadians we love. Our Canadian listeners, we love you. I just wanted to make sure I got your back. Okay.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not anything. It's just there wasn't really much information at all. And for a set that is supposed to come out in a couple months, you would think it would be on all of the sites. So I don't know if anyone knows more about this set, message us and please inform us, because we're a little behind the curve here. Yeah. And that's really all I had for new releases. So we'll roll right into personal pickups, and I'm going to hand the conch to you, Troy, and let you explain yourself.
Yeah, I do have to explain myself. So I have nothing again, and it's not for lack of trying. I did try to bid on some auctions. I was a little more reserved after I had probably spent 2 or 3 episodes saying how I go in, I'm going to win, and I'm competitive. Not this time. I actually took a different approach, kind of put my highest price I was willing to pay on like 5 or 6 cards. Didn't win any of them. So as a consolation prize, I resorted my whole collection, and I put them by player now instead of sets. And my reasoning was, at times, I like you hear news on a player, and I just want to see all the cards I have of that player. Now, I do have a spreadsheet that has them all, but I'd rather see them in person. So now I have them all sorted by players, so help with that. And then I am going to make a strong prediction that I will have some boxes of artifacts. I plan on buying 1 or 2. So hopefully I can bring that to the table for personal pickups. And I will still be scouring eBay and looking and hopefully have something so I don't have to turn in my Gong Show podcast card and ride off into the sunset.
I think at this point, I'm going to speak on behalf of the listeners, and we need something stronger, Troy. Can you make a guarantee that you'll buy a hockey card at least in the next week?
I will. I'll buy a hockey card just to say I bought one.
Well, and I got to admit, I'm not a lot better. I actually went on a panic buying spree today and bought stuff I don't even know if I want, just because I felt that we're really pathetic and we've been so busy with everything that we're running out of room to be hockey card collectors. So I did buy a 2020 OPG Platinum Ottinger Violet Pixels to $3.99. I paid $13 for it, which I think is probably the going rate. Again, it was sort of a panic buy, so maybe I overpaid by $1 or $2, but I thought, for Ottinger, it's a pretty respected, and I don't know if it's a platinum as a flagship set, but I really like the Violet Pixels parallel, and so I thought it was a good deal. And then out of total panic buy, I was looking at auctions ending soonest, and I did bid on during the show. And this is so cheap and stupid, but just to illustrate the point how pathetic we are at buying hockey cards right now. There was from Extended, there's the Black Diamond insert, and there was a Cale Makar, and I got it for I think $2, and it was free shipping. And I thought, well, I can probably make flip that if I want and make for $2 total with shipping into the card. That's not a bad deal. So it's sad. I'm on Instagram today, and I see like Jeremy Lee buying Grail cards of the Cup Yzerman rookie retrospectives or whatever he bought. And I bought for $2 a Black Diamond insert and extended Cale Makar.
Hey, remember, hockey Hockey Cards 101 in our series, where there was a section about being, financially responsible. That's all we're doing right now. We're saving up for the season to start and all these new products coming out and series, because I am excited for series 1. I want to actually buy more than 2 boxes. I would like to get 5 or 6 just for the fun of it, and maybe keep a couple and
rip some for social media. Yeah, that'd be good. Okay, well, that is it for the show. Thank you again for listening and your support. We really appreciate it. Make sure you follow us on all of our social channels, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. We're on pretty much all of them. And here's something for you, Troy. Hockey Cards Gongshow is a Dollar Box Ventures production.
There you go. I love it. I like it.
We will talk to you all next week. See you soon.